Thank you. Fyr den af. Thank you. Actually, I've been sitting in the back most of the day, wondering how this entrance might feel. And actually, it was even more awesome than I could imagine. So thank you very much. I'll try to fulfill your expectations. And thank you, Michael, for the introduction, and thank you, Alexander and Wu Huing, for having us here today. We have been doing some work with Wu Huing earlier, and I also know that we are used as the good example of a great workplace when Alexander and I led traveling around the world talking on this topic. And I must say that we are very proud and very honored being mentioned along with one of some of the world's best workplaces. So thank you for that. Yeah, and when I say we, I mean this wonderful, thank you, Alet. I mean this wonderful company, Middelfart Sparekasse, and as Michael just told, this Middelfart, for those of you from abroad, is this organization full of cabbage-loving people with some stomach issues. It is actually, as Michael told, quite boring. It's just the name of the city. But it's a wonderful city, placed by the seaside in the middle of Denmark. Anyway, either you're here to begin your work on creating happiness at work, or you already work on it, and to reinforce your efforts. I hope that we're able to give you some inspiration on the topic. But first of all, I would like to take you to a very important moment and a very proud moment. This picture was taken 6 months ago here in Copenhagen, a wonderful evening in last November, and it shows about 30 of our colleagues celebrating that with just a few minutes before the picture was taken, was awarded Best Workplace in Denmark 2016. And I had the privilege participating that night, and it was awesome. So, how do you become the best workplace in Denmark? Our way have been focusing especially on social capital, and that, I believe, is the essence of our success. But first of all, to understand the way we created a good workplace, we need to take a look at our history. We were founded more than 160 years ago, and actually it's Benjamin Faulkner, who you see on the picture, who suggested the establishment of a local bank in Middelfart. And Benjamin Faulkner was a butcher, but he was also a member of the local Artisan Association, which was a group of very active craftsmen, and they wanted to promote the idea of putting your money in the bank. They wanted to help the poor people saving their money and didn't spend the money on anything and everything. So the bank was supposed to be for the common good, and actually this thought is still today very much alive and has become the modern expression corporate social responsibility, or just CSR. For the first 130 years, the bank lived a quiet life. We developed stable and controlled. So we push now the fast forward button and move ahead to the 1980s, which I believe was a fantastic decade. It was great music, it was great movies, and it was the greatest era of Danish football ever. And some of you may know these happy people on the picture. A very young Michael Laudrup, the best football player in Denmark ever, and Preben Melchior, the best forward, played in Italy for a lot of years. But of course, the 1980s wasn't only great football and great movies. It was also the most of Europe struggling with financial issues, financial troubles. Local governments made political interventions to support the society and especially the financial markets. And also in Denmark, the Danish financial sector was undergoing some major changes in the 1980s. And due to some huge mergers, two giant banks was created. That was Bank of Denmark and Unibank, which today is known as Nordea. And our CEO back then was Hans-Erik Brøndserud. Some of you from Denmark may be familiar with the name. He was sitting in his office in Middelfart and thinking, how are we able to survive in a market with these two giants? It's obvious we didn't have the size to compete on price and product. So we needed some other competitive advantages. So he gave it some thought, and Hans-Erik was a man who trusted his employees. He believed in the best in man. So what he came up with was that it should be the employees that should be our only competitive advantage. So he actually wanted the employees to be the best assets they could possibly be. So after some time, all employees, which was about 40 at the time, were gathered together on an evening meeting. And Hans-Erik told how we have been running our business until then, and then the business hadn't been running well. But now it was time for a new focus, according to this new structure in the financial market. And then suddenly, the lights went out, and everybody was sitting in the room, completely dark. Hans-Erik stopped talking. The only thing they could hear was their own breath. They were sitting for 7 minutes, just listening to their own breath. And after 7 minutes, the lights went on again, and Hans-Erik, as shown on the picture here, told his vision of our future. And besides the visual effect of cutting the light off, he wanted to show that this was a new beginning. This was a new start of our company. And in the future, it should be trust that should be the most, our foundation, the cornerstone of our company. We should have no more rules, no more regulations that the law demanded. Each employee should be given the responsibility to make the best possible decisions with the customers. And of course, there should be rules for making mistakes and to live and learn from them. So he believed that if the employees were relieved from rules and a suspicious mindset, they would be able to make even more valuable business with the customers. And if you treated the employees well, they would treat the customers well in response. And these employees were only to be found in one place, and that would be in our company. And that will give us the ultimate competitive advantage. So almost overnight, all rules and all procedures were removed. From now on, there would be no more fixed working time. And he believed that the employees themselves were able to manage their working day. Also, he believed that our employees were hired and worked in our company because they loved talking to the customer, loved work with the customers, they loved helping them out with financial issues. Then they shouldn't be bothered with regulations and rules, controls, measures, etc. They should be given the freedom to what they do best, to talk to the customer. So actually that was the start of our journey creating a good workplace in Denmark. And from the 1990s and until now, you can say things took off, and it has been quite a development, as you can see on the numbers. We survived the crisis in the 1980s, and we also managed to get through the financial crisis a few years ago. And still today, we are an independent bank. And actually, our development has primarily taken place for the last 5-6 years. In that time, we hired more than 150 new employees. We got more than 25,000 new customers and opened 5 new branches. And actually, we are still progressing. At the moment, we get more than 500 new customers every month. And we hire on average 25 to 30 people a year. So, as you can see, focusing on happiness at work really makes results. And in 2012, Hans-Erik retired, and our new CEO and present CEO, Martin Balser, was given the task of securing our independence while still maintaining the focus on a great workplace. And actually, Hans-Erik is still going strong. He often drops by our office to chat with the people, and of course, he has a huge share in our success. And this leads us to our present value basis, our present vision. Actually, we have been working with the same mindset for the last 30 years, and we preserved our core values from when we started 160 years ago. Our vision is to be best for customers. We want to do that little extra thing that the customers do not expect. We want to go beyond the normal. We want to be the bank with the most happy and the most satisfied customers and the most happy and satisfied employees. And we want our customers to feel valued in doing business with us. We want to give the customer a little more than they expect. And of course, being best for customers is something different for me working with HR as it is to my colleagues working with the customers every day. But still, in everything I do in my job, I think, how do we become best for customers, and how do I support my colleagues become best for customers? So, how did we create the best workplace in Denmark? It's built on 3 main building blocks, and trust, responsibility, and involvement. And trust, as I mentioned earlier, is the most important element in our organization. And of course, trust is many things. It's the management trusting the employees that they are able to do their job without being checked and without being controlled. But it's also the employees who trust the management that they can make decisions that still ensure that we have our job tomorrow. So we trust that each employee is capable of doing their job with no need for the management to check the outcome. And according to responsibility, there are a lot of aspects. It's each employee's responsibility to make the best possible decisions and the best possible business with the customers. It's their responsibility to act proactively and to do what's best for both the customer and the company. And each employee has a great responsibility, and they're also expected to use it. But they're also given the freedom to make mistakes without consequences. Of course, when you're given such a great responsibility, you will make mistakes sometimes. Involvement as well is also very important, and it goes along with responsibility. Every employee is involved in decisions that will affect them, and talk with the employee how's the best way to implement these decisions. And actually, I think our present strategy is the best example of involving the employees. It took us more than 18 months to create a strategy that will last for 3 years. Every and each employee in the organization was involved in creating the strategy. Every department, diverse teams, all employees gathered together for a whole day working on the new strategy. And that creates a unique ownership of the strategy. Because when this final strategy was presented by Martin, our CEO, nothing was completely new. We weren't surprised by new things which were put into the strategy. And that made our strategy very much alive. And we act according to the strategy every day, and we know it and we live it. Our strategy is not just some words which are put in a booklet and written by the management. Our strategy is also very operational. Actually, we identified more than 80 tasks according to fulfilling the strategy, and we will create teams and charts in more than half of these 80 tasks. And every employee is invited to take part in these groups. And often we use the same procedures when we're about to implement new law and new regulations from the financial authorities. And some more few words on trust, responsibility, and involvement. Transparency is in everything we do. Could be by the decision that the management makes. Transparency according to what the decision is based on. But also transparency according to our customers. We don't hide information for our customers. Communication is also very important, and it goes along with transparency. We stand by our word, and we do as we speak. And for us, a promise is a promise. Honesty is the key word, even if it always is in our favor. According to information, we are a very informative organization, and when you as an employee are given such a huge responsibility, it's important that you have the information to act and to make your decisions in a correct way. So almost everything, every information in the organization is shared. Even highly confidential information are shared. And often long time before we publish it. And of course, it creates a huge amount of information, so you need, as an employee, the ability to select what's relevant and what's important for me. Relations, as I talked on earlier, we want to create long-term relations, both with our employees and with our customers. And it goes along with this moment of truth that I believe is quite Danish concept. What we mean with the moment of truth is that this particular moment where our employee meets the customer is the moment of truth. And that moment is a moment you as a manager can't control, so you might as well give the employee the responsibility and the full competence to make what's best for the customer and for the company. And actually, according to relation and moment of truth, we don't use key performance indicators in our organization. None of our employees are having individual goals. We believe in the strengths of joint effort, and we also believe using KPIs may ruin that unique spirit that we do have in our organization. So to create a great workplace demands continuous efforts, and everything we do and according to create a great workplace is based on our strategy. We commit ourselves to our colleagues, to our surroundings, that we really want to do this. But it's also a mindset of we can always do better. We want to achieve more. We know that it's in the future will get even harder to attract good and skilled people. So we need to reinforce our efforts. And we still stick to the idea of involving all employees. We know that it may take some longer time, but we also know that we will benefit of it later on. And what is very crucial is our action orientation. We never stand still. We always encourage each other to act and to act proactively. Of course, we benefit of being a small organization, but still it's important that we stick to these tools we know works. Shoot first and ask later. Which means that you always, as an employee, have the permission to act, as long as you're acting according to the strategy and to what is best for the customers. And these are the 4 pillars we're working on. Of course, what's always top of our mind is creating the best workplace in Denmark. Also wanted to achieve a high level of customer satisfaction, and wanted to give back to the society that we're a part of. We want a very distinct CSR profile. And of course, we need to make money to survive as an independent bank and to achieving the first 3. So, is this just some happy-go-lucky vision from some hippie-like people from Middelfart? Now I'm going to brag. Some may say this actually is science that show that happiness at work is making good results. 2016 was one of the best years in our history. We presented an annual result of 112, a surplus of 112 million Danish crowns. And we were awarded with the following distinctions: Best Workplace in Denmark, as I started showing you. The bank with the highest customer satisfaction of all banks, which in research among more than 40,000 Danish bank customers, not only our bank. And the bank with the best image of all banks, also according to many thousand bank customers. And the most attractive workplace in the financial sector, which is based on more than 3,000 employees in the financial sector. We are 300. So actually, they're sitting a lot of employees in other banks and other financial companies pointed out us as the most attractive workplace in the financial sector. And 2017 continues the same way. Just a few weeks ago, we were awarded Best Digital Financial Business of the Year, which particularly was for our way of creating digital solutions for the customers and our way to be present on the social media. So yes, working strategically and in a well-organized way, creating happiness at work, it is damn good business. It really makes a difference, and I can assure you that it will give you some huge advantages in the future. Creating happiness at work, attracting, getting a lot easier to attracting good and skilled employees, and of course making good financial results. So, why don't you make a head start? I'm absolutely convinced that the future belongs to happy people and responsible organizations. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. That was really kind of revolutionary. Can I have the chair, Alexander? Because we have actually 5 minutes, so please sit down. And because I really need to ask you some questions. I never heard this story before, and I must say it's moving and amazing and quite revolutionary. At that time, when the lights went out, were you there?
No.
Do you know somebody who was there?
Yeah, there are still some in our organization.
How was it?
I think it was quite hard for them to understand why we needed this. And I know that Hans-Erik struggled with trying to implement this new vision. He needed to do it sometimes before it actually worked.
Yeah, because it must have also created a lot of fear among many employees.
Yeah.
I mean, self-management sounds beautiful, but for some people, it's a nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Helle Hein told this morning that the pragmatists, they want standard operating procedures so that they know what framework they work inside.
Yeah.
And now you just remove that framework.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
It is. It was a nightmare to some, but it is a way of the way we do it is to have a strategy which is very operational and that is very much alive. So it's important for us to live our strategy and to live out our vision, and that's what we're trying to do every day according to strategy.
And how about employees who don't fit into that strategy? They have to leave?
We put a lot of efforts in recruiting our employees, telling.
Yeah, but I also
what-
mean by when you made the transition.
Yeah, some people left. There were some employees who weren't able to manage that transition. Yeah.
And now you try to recruit people who fit into that kind of organization.
Yeah, it's important for us when we recruit that we put a lot of effort in to tell what the way we work and that we want them to act proactive and that they have the permission to act. So
what is your key priority when you recruit? Is that the skills as a banker or the attitude?
It's the attitude.
It's the attitude, yeah. Have you ever experienced that some employees didn't live up to the level of trust that you give them?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, just handing out loans, millions, whatever they say, you get it. Have you tried that?
No, I think, of course, there are some rules, and we have a lot of regulations in the financial sector, and it's becoming even worse. Mm-hmm. So of course it's but we try to implement these rules and regulations in the best possible way, and so that they affect the employees as little as possible. So, but it's also a way of involving the employees when we say, now we have this new law or this new regulation. How do we implement it in the best way? Because we need to implement it. That's the law. So, but we involve the employees and working on what is the best way to implement this.
You ended bragging a little bit about your results, and congratulations. But I do have to tell you that Middelfart Savings Bank also sometimes fuck up. Do you remember Scandinotes?
Yeah.
Know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what
that
you're
was a recommendation of yours, a paper that you recommended your customers to invest in.
Yeah.
And they lost their money. That's what happened.
They could have lost their money.
So tell me, because this is also revolutionary.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah, actually, I think it was in 2009, and it was a value paper called Scandinotes. Many banks was behind that value paper, and according to the financial crisis, there was a lot of bank that cracked, and so this value paper was much worth, and we have been selling Scandinotes.
It was pretty worthless.
It was worthless, yeah. And we had been selling Scandinotes for 27 million Danish crowns. And when our CEO Hans Erik found out that actually our customer had lost their money, he contacted the board and put them into the situation and recommended that we contacted these customers and buy the Scandinotes back. So actually we lost 27 million Danish crowns on that topic, but we were honest about it. We didn't know what we were selling, but we didn't know that we didn't want our customer to have the loss. So we paid it back.
So, how about that? Walking the talk? Why don't we give Michael a standing ovation? Good.